Hello, I'm Steve Lentini. Let me say that again. I'm reminding myself, I'm Steve Lentini, and this is a live event about how do you get the best performance out of sales teams. I've witnessed a lot of companies with challenges in their sales team. In fact, I don't think there's any company that doesn't have some challenges, and some have more than others. And the root cause is the management. It's how they're led or not led, and both can be negative. So if you're not getting the results you want, number one, what behavior are you modeling? You can figure out what behavior you're modeling by looking at the results you're getting. If people are bickering and fighting and negative and maybe petty or complaining a lot, that's somewhere in your own behavior. You're modeling it. There are no theys. If you think about EST or forum or landmark training, what is the story you're telling yourself about the people around you? And you don't have to look far for the inventory of what you're doing. It's in the behavior of those around you. The other thing that management does with sales teams is they often don't even work with, let's say, the top third of the sales team to figure out what behaviors to drive with a compensation plan. I had a client that I'm coaching say to me that the boss, the leader of their sales team, just came to them with a plan and basically said, "This is it, take it or leave it." And they had that sales leader had no idea how negative it was and how it was actually going to be not non-productive. It wasn't going to drive the behaviors that he thought. So number one is when you're managing a sales team is manage behaviors, but get some input from your top salespeople. Ask them questions. What are you doing to get new business? What are you doing that's working? What is it that you're doing that closes more sales than many others? It's funny how every company that I've gotten into work with has the top tier, the middle tier. Often they're struggling and flat, or maybe been flat for a long time. And then they have the bottom tier that they haven't done anything with. So salespeople need to be coached up or coached out. And so how do you coach people up? Well, number one, you manage behaviors. What are the behaviors that are going to get you the results you want, starting with the end in mind? Always begin a compensation plan, a behavior performance plan with starting at the end. What is it you want to accomplish? What do you want the team to accomplish? What would you like them to focus on? And do you share why? Some companies never share why. They just say, well, we want you to focus on selling this manufacturer's products. Well, it's probably because they get a healthy rebate if they hit a growth number, but that can be shared. Who doesn't want their company to be profitable, healthy, and productive? Oftentimes, companies don't share it. They think the sales team doesn't know. I was on sales teams that used to say they must be getting a healthy back end, a healthy rebate from that company. That's why they want us to push it. But what if it's not all that received that well by customers? The company might blame it on the sales team, and it's actually the product itself. The manufacturer is not that good. It's not well received. You want your sales team beating a dead horse? Fascinating how many companies do it. Fascinating. So you want to manage behaviors and you want to start with the end in mind and build a compensation plan that enforces and reinforces those behaviors. The people that analyze the sales program the best, the compensation program, are always the salespeople. They get right into it. And if you want to manage certain behaviors, then you incentivize those behaviors. The other thing is that I see companies not doing is helping people win. And there's a number of ways that management can do that. Number one, Identify your most productive and profitable customers, and then help the sales team find targets that match that. Why wouldn't you want more productive, profitable, healthy customers? And then help them define where they say no. It's fascinating how many companies don't want to teach salespeople about the client they wouldn't be able to say yes to because they think they should be out there closing them all. It's really ridiculous thinking. It's small minded, what I call the acorn brain. If you're not coaching people on how to win and what they wouldn't be able to say yes to, that's one of the reasons your sales team is not performing. You're not connected to them. It's us versus them. Think about that. Do you have a healthy relationship with your sales team? Are you working with them to help them win? Are you coaching people up? Now, there's always going to be people that don't make it. You can't control that. In coaching, oftentimes, it's the same message that I deliver to people that have been working with me for 19, 20, 30 years, 15 years, 18 years, 10 years, and they're succeeding. And then there's people among that group that drop away because they never get the message. I can't control what people do with the message. Neither can you. But work with people, develop a relationship with your sales team by asking them questions, and then build a plan that helps them manage their own behaviors. They'll identify from the incentive plan what to work on and make sure it's a good fit for what the market is telling you. It's amazing how many companies put an incentive in because it's based on profitability, and they never ask the sales team, what is the market saying about this product segment? Why is it that it's flat or not growing as much? It's probably not being received well by your customers. So the way to manage sales teams is to be inclusive with them. That's what self-aware leaders do. And if you want to encourage self-awareness among your sales teams, it's best not to have wild horses who criticize the company, who gossip and makes others wrong, and even lash out themselves. They'll say things like, why did you do this? Why did you make these changes to my territory? I'm the number one. I'm a top dog. Would you stay in a relationship with someone that was negative, uncomfortable, not healthy, toxic? There are, in many companies, toxic salespeople, and they're tolerated because they're very good or a top performer in sales. But it's not healthy for the company. You'll find people that'll fill their shoes. You probably have people in your top salespeople who will rise up and handle the accounts very well, continue to close like the toxic person did, and you won't have that toxicity. You won't have that negative person around. Sometimes pruning, what's called, farmers will understand this, the money cut. Apple tree farmers, and I've learned this because I worked in orchards, they would make what was called the money cut. They would cut something that was very productive for a long time, but it started to become unhealthy. Sound familiar? And they cut it because they got more productivity by the new growth that occurred. Multiple branches appeared where the money cut used to be, the money branch. That same thing. You can actually grow by subtraction, subtracting someone who's toxic from the sales team. They're not helping you. And if they're in the bottom, forget about it. Let them go. If they're in the middle, you can give them a warning. You can be part of our culture and come along. We'd like to help you win. We'd love to help you win. This is not behavior that's acceptable. If you don't manage the people that are toxic or even somewhat complaining, maybe they haven't reached the toxic level yet, indifference equals acceptance. It's a tacit yes, it's an approval without it being an approval. And I've witnessed that as well. And it was very negative. And in one particular case, the company sold at a fire sale price because they had never managed poor behavior. They were afraid of the sales team. They were afraid of the top performers, and their indifference equaled acceptance. And it affected every other department. So ask yourself, are you going to do what it takes to manage salespeople, get some input, model behaviors that you want to see from other people, take a stand where necessary, and even do some pruning? Are you going to help people win? Are you going to identify the best, profitable, healthy customers that your company loves to serve? And there's another tier. There's the good ones that are somewhat less profitable and less productive, but they're still good clients. And then are you going to teach people where they can say, we wouldn't be able to say yes to that? Now, there's a follow on question to that. Would you like to hear what we could say yes to? It's healthy to have the places where salespeople can walk away and you're giving them direction so that you're not out closing all kinds of business that later on you might have to fire some customers. Wouldn't it be better not to accept that business up front? And then to teach people in your sales team about self-awareness and making a connection and having a dialogue with customers and future clients, and not teaching them tactics and techniques. It's old fashioned and it's worn out. Helping people buy is the way to go today. I've written a book on it called Helping People Buy. Fascinating enough, right? It's available on Amazon. Helping People Buy is the sales methodology of today. It's relational and it requires curiosity and being self aware and making a connection. And customers love it because it's a pulling method, it's an attracting method as opposed to the old fashioned way of pushing. Do you feel that energy? If you're teaching people techniques and tactics, it's the wrong methodology. And if you're not managing people, helping them win, identifying what I call ABC costing, activity-based costing, what are the most profitable, healthy clients, and what is the next level of clients that we would embrace? Maybe we can even teach them what's more profitable, a better way to buy, because they could end up with savings. They could learn something from you. But if you're not doing that, you're not helping your team win. Just think about it. Prove it to yourself. Don't take my word for it. Try it. I've been in companies for, in some cases, over 20 years. I'm not afraid to be around long enough to prove the work that I do, but there's a lot of good programs out there. Not everyone's a fit for me. I have a dialogue to discover whether they are or not. I do and practice what I'm teaching. And so I'm glad to help. It's what I do. Steve at stevelentini.com. If you have questions, I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm going to help you buy whatever program is best for you. And I recommend you teach your teams to do that. I challenge you, in fact. I think it's important because it builds a relationship with people that if they don't buy from you today, they'll refer you from the experience. They'll say things like, well, we couldn't buy from them. It wasn't a fit, but I can tell you, it sounds like this company would be a great fit for you. I loved how they treated me. And again, you have to prove all of those things to yourself. Think about it. Are you pushing? Are you modeling good behaviors? Are you helping your people win? Are you identifying where they can say yes easily and what they wouldn't be able to say yes to? Are you incentivizing them by starting with the end in mind and getting some input about it from your top people? They'll tell you. You always start with the end in mind and work backwards, especially with the behaviors you want to incentivize and the performance, the pay plan, the compensation program. And check in with people because management often makes mistakes. I've seen many examples of it. So you can manage sales teams to top performance and get the best out of them. And if you're not, it's you. That's the place to start. Any questions? Again, email me, steve@stevelentini.com. That's Steve at Steve, L as in Linda, E-N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, I-N-I.com. I'm glad to help. Thanks.